What it do, Packer Nation? I'm Camille Davis coming to you on the Pack a Day podcast YouTube page after the Packers pitched a shutout, beating the shorthanded Saints 34-0. This was the fifth straight game where the Packers scored at least 30 points, which is the second longest streak in franchise history. This Packers team is starting to get that ball rolling. And the craziest part of it is like they're getting the ball rolling, and I still feel like there is meat on the bone. I still feel like they can be better. And they were dominant tonight. Like they got off to a really fast start offensively. They scored on 5 of their first 7 possessions, 3 straight touchdowns to open the game up. This was a Packers team that built a lead early, and the Saints just didn't really have too much in store to try to come back. We had 9 different Packer players with a rushing attempt. 9. That is the most that the Packers have had in one game since the 50s. The 50s, 1953, if I remember correctly. It's crazy. Josh Jacobs was somebody who the Packers leaned on early and often, which has been a trend. We've been seeing Josh Jacobs do his thing. That's been a rushing touchdown in 6 straight games for Jacobs at this point. Like the Packers' offensive identity is really going through Josh Jacobs at this point, that physicality that he brings to the point where in the second half, when he sat for most of that time, the Packers mentioned like he's okay. They're just going to keep him out for the rest of the game. There was no need to bring him back. You saw the other Packers running backs get in on it as well. As mentioned, you had 9 different Packer players with a rushing attempt. All 3 of the Packers running backs had a touchdown in this game. Like they kept rolling a physicality. Chris Brooks was out here breaking tackles. Emmanuel Wilson was out here running hard. Like that running back room has really adopted a physical mentality, and you love to see it, especially when the weather gets cold, when Toyotathon is rolling on, who Jordan Love is officially signed with now. Not one of his best games, but again, he did enough for the Packers to win. He did one really important thing tonight, which was not turn the ball over. There were 2 different possessions where the ball is tipped up, could have been picked off. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it wasn't. So again, another game with no interceptions from Jordan Love. He finished 16 to 28, 182 yards and a touchdown. Got to see Malik Willis get into the game as well. He threw a dot while he was in the game as well. Kept the ball moving, got a touchdown on that drive with Malik Willis at the helm as well. The Packers were 4-4 in the red zone. The red zone's been an area where sometimes for this team can be a struggle. So to see them come through 4-4 in the red zone against an undermanned Saints team was a breath of fresh air. And I mentioned the Packers pitched a shutout, the first in the NFL this season. And that is a Packers defense doing that without Jair Alexander, without Evan Williams, who was a later scratch. He popped up on the injury report later on in the week, didn't play. Without Javon Bullard, without Quay Walker, all 4 of those starters for this Packers defense were out. They were out. And the Packers still found enough to make sure that that shorthanded Saints team didn't get rolling. Even in possessions when you saw them starting to get a rhythm, you see something like a Zane Anderson interception. Zane Anderson getting his first NFL start comes away with an interception. Like, it's crazy. You had Nixon forcing a fumble, Gary recovering that. The Packers defense forced 2 turnovers in this game while not giving the ball to the Saints. A formula you love to see. Again, I feel like there's still some meat on the bone for where they can improve. And that's nitpicking because, again, they scored 34 points. Didn't even mention the fact Brandon McManus, 2 for 2 with his field goals. We got a kicker in Green Bay, y'all. We have a kicker in Green Bay to the point where the Packers attempted just their second 50-plus field goal attempt this season with McManus nailing a 55-yarder as well as a 46-yarder in this game. It feels really good not to worry about the kicker. You go out there, you play your game, and you trust in him. If the situation calls for him to come out there, that he'll do his job. And he did his job. A complete game from the Packers with, again, room for improvement from them. That offense stalled a bit in the second half with Love at the helm, which is why I thought in a little part why we saw him as late in the game as we did. But again, Malik Willis came in with like a little bit under 6 minutes left in the game. So not that much time for Willis, and he made his impact felt. So a really solid win for this Packers team that books their ticket to the playoffs for the second straight year with Jordan Love as their quarterback. Matt LaFleur now has been to the playoffs 5 of his 6 seasons here in Green Bay. And next week it's setting up for a showdown with the Minnesota Vikings. Will be really good to come out in that game and get a win to show like, hey, we can beat some of these teams with records better than us in our conference. So we'll look ahead to that over the week at Pack a Day Podcast. Of course, I'm hoping that Christian Watson is all right. He sustained a knee injury during the game, came back for a little bit, but then left again. Was questionable, didn't return for the rest of the performance. So hope that Watson is okay. Hope that the 4 defensive starters who I mentioned were out earlier in this game, maybe they're feeling healthy enough to come back against a big divisional rival. So make sure you keep it locked into the Pack a Day podcast on YouTube and on the audio side of things. We'll keep you locked with fresh Packers content Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every day of the week. That's why it's Pack a Day, you know what I'm saying? But I also want to wish everybody out there a happy holidays and Merry Christmas if you celebrate that. Hope you all enjoy the time with your family. Hope you enjoyed the Packers win, the Packers clinching their playoff spot as a nice little holiday gift. I'm Camille Davis. This was Pack a Day Podcast. And as always, go Pack Go.